just always recording in case we need it for. So the top row is the front row. So Jacob, you're like the third. Yeah.
Ew. When are we getting new school pictures? I think.
Next week, Thursday, I think.
It looked like a box.
Where's Jax? What stories have Jax? Oh, it was Thomas.
Oh, yeah. Pretty good.
Hi.
What?
So there's assigned seats, yeah. So top row, the front row.
I don't know where I am.
So
Oh, did they have to separate?
what?
This movie.
They might not. They might have been in like when I did this.
Can they
So
just go on the side?
yeah, yeah, wherever's comfortable.
It's just want to sit over there somewhere.
I don't know where I am.
Okay.
Somewhere else right here.
No. Luke, you're the second seat back.
What class is this?
Oh, math.
Oh.
Congratulations, Abby. We found out what class this is.
I got it.
I'm sitting right here.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Did it hurt? Did it hurt? It wasn't that hard to get a kid. It's more like it.
Okay. This is Adeline, like Adeline.
What have you said? Oh,
That's right, I had a black eye for my cousin.
yeah. What did you go? You want to go there? That's fine. That's fine.
You're just wondering. That's awesome.
Well, I kind of lived there for you.
No.
I kind of moved in fourth quarter.
Where is it?
It kind of happened. Oh. Look at that.
Yeah. No, I guess we have. Yeah, they do not put. Maybe one of those. I don't know if we're gonna have bells, so.
Oh.
Why?
Or they're just gonna be wrong.
Yeah, no, because I knew rain went off at 1:30 to 1,
Yeah. And it was C 140, yeah.
and then the other one went off, so.
All right. So just a heads up, because everyone wants to know when the end of the day is. It's different than last year where they had like those staggered releases. So we're here till 3:10 together. So there's no staggered release, no saying you ride the bus when you don't really ride the bus and that kind of thing.
I don't ride the bus.
Saying you're in a sport when you're not really in a sport. Okay, so 3:10 is our release time. So I will try to give you guys time at the end of class to work on things typically. So, but yeah, we'll kind of talk through things. So you should be here in real world math. So hopefully you're in the right spot. Typically I will record the lesson just because if you're ever gone that you can like reference that. There's times though there's technical difficulties like today. I was having some issues in my earlier classes, so just that you guys know that's always going to be something that would show up on Schoology. So if you're wondering what I'm doing up here, I'm probably recording us. So just heads up, you'll be famous if you do something crazy. But so anyway, so I'm Mrs. Donahue. Most of you guys have had me here. This class is going to be a total mixture of difficult and easy topics of math. I mean, it starts off pretty straightforward where you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they put me in like this low-level math. But maybe that's not the case. Maybe you don't realize you knew it as well as you thought you did, or it will get more difficult. But it truly is those real-world topics that, there's going to be a time in your life that you're going to have to be able to estimate a value, like an outcome of something, and being able to make sure that answer makes sense. So we're going to work on that quite a bit in here. So right now, our textbooks are MIA, so we do not currently have a textbook for this class. We will have an online version of it, but right now we don't have that. We have to order it still. So we, right now you'll be having everything like on paper, like, so you'll get kind of stuff handed off to you. So that being said, let me get you guys started on one on notes here. So you're going to want for this class is a binder, like a 3-ring binder. You're going to want to be able to put it, like just like if you had me before, something always going to be 3 hole punched, and so having some place to put your notes every day is going to be really helpful. You're going to want a calculator for this class. I ask that you don't use a cell phone. You won't be able to use that on a test. I just want you guys to be comfortable with your calculator that you have. And then some sort of paper notebook. You won't need that today. Everything I'll be giving you will be on, like I said, on paper. I will get you guys a textbook. We're in an electronic textbook. We'll get that eventually, just not yet. So this is all from a book that I'm not making this stuff up. It's from a business mathematics book. So start by giving you guys some notes here. The side, we can always move you guys. So like if you can't see at that angle, let me know. We can always move you guys back or something. This class isn't that big, so if there's too much glare, let me know. So this is the book we're using. Is again, we just rather than buying a new textbook every or having a set of these textbooks, there's an online version that we use. So you're gonna get like basically like that. You'll have the digital copy of it. But again, we just didn't get it ordered ahead of time. So, all right, so it says write the following as a number. It's 5,762,400,090. All right, what'd you guys start with? 5. So 5 trillion. Did you guys use commas?
Yes.
So did you put a comma right now? 5 trillion. Now, kind of a cool thing about the way math is written, the commas are kind of helpful. They're given to us. So like the comma's kind of in the way we would say that name. So 5 trillion. What happens next? 762. What do you think?
You would have to put 3 zeros after the 5 trillion.
3 zeros. Do you guys know what that's holding?
500 trillion.
What are we missing? What's it? The billions. Yeah, since you're all trillionaires, you know that there's like billions before that, right? So there's a missing billions. So actually that's something I'm going to bring up down here, our digits here. So if you want to fill this in right away. billions. And then here's trillions. I always think about those numbers that they're so big, it's hard to even understand how large they are. So yeah, so it's okay if you didn't realize you were missing the billions. So there were no billions, so we get to put zeros as placeholders. So if you missed that, totally understandable. So 762 million. $400,000, how do we write that one? 400. So the 400,000, 400 just in that place, 1,000, and then 90. 0, 90. And then if there was a decimal point, it would be back over there. So talking about really large numbers like this, it just reminds me I actually need to record. I never hit the record button. I already had technical difficulties today. Last hour, didn't record at all. Oh no, it was recording. Okay, never mind. I guess it's been going. I don't know. So we'll see. If it went well the first day, like how would the rest of the, like what would I do the rest of the year? So, so this number though, if you were someday in some sort of business deal or something where they're talking about millions and trillions, I'd probably want to know what they're actually talking about. I wouldn't want to be in the dark about what that value is because I'd want to make sure I didn't miss those 3 zeros. Because if we're talking about trillions versus billions, kind of a big deal. So making sure we're talking about the same number and we're talking about the same values here is super important. So this is kind of trying to show you those whole numbers. So we're talking about whole numbers today. So this is one of those days you're probably like, really? This is what we're doing? Yeah, like, I mean, I'm not going to actually have you just like add and subtract whole number problems. I'm not going to say add 5 and 4 together and give me an answer. You're going to have to do them in some word problems in some real world situations. But you also are going to have to be comfortable with looking at big numbers like this and knowing what they mean. So for like the place value, understanding, again, hopefully there's the ones place. We probably don't need to fill in this whole chart, but there's tens and then hundreds. And it does that same repeat over and over again, except it goes thousands, but then it goes 10,000, 100,000. This is hard for me to write diagonally up on the board, so. And sometimes my board has a mind of its own. So that's 100,000, and hopefully you guys are getting the idea. Then it goes millions, 10 millions, 100 millions. You don't have to write every one of those out, but getting the idea of that pattern there. So it goes 100,000s, millions, 10 millions, 100 millions, billions, 10 billion. So this pattern continues. And I can always put this graphic up if you guys want to see it. So understanding that's going to be really important. And I like using the commas between these. So like, whoops. So like that we would have a comma here. So there'd be a comma here, comma here. That helps you to kind of space things out. They don't always use, like your calculator probably doesn't show commas all the time. Or sometimes you'll see a number that's really large and they don't use commas. It really does kind of help space things out. Okay. All right, so a quick note. One of the things is probably the most common thing is when someone says a number, I'm thinking like 152. They say 152. It's just really common like misspeak. So don't use the word and with a number. So if I have 152, you shouldn't ever say 152. Oops. So you kind of have to get rid of that and, so it's just 152. It's a really common, like you guys slip up, we'll talk about that. So if you guys want to try writing this next number out, again, be careful about missing digits. So if you guys want to try this next example here. And sometimes it doesn't even show up on my board. Okay, so.
I just realized that I need to move it around the office.
Oh,
I should have
oh.
And if I didn't think I was going to say something similar, but I looked at my computer last time. I looked at something. I was fine on since last year.
Oh, oh shoot.
That was first week. He just thinks I'm really informal. So I provided that.
Yeah, giving everyone a nickname right away.
So happy.
Start calling everyone that, so then he
Yeah,
feels
you
like,
don't
yeah,
feel like-
yeah,
yeah.
he'll be like, she does that to everybody.
Yeah.
So,
Will he shut it?
No.
alright, so 230,040,900. So what do we start with? What do you guys start with there? 230. Okay. 3 zeros. Because those are our millions, billion, million. And then 40,000, so we need 040. So think of that placeholder, that spot is just 40. And then 900. Next. Okay. 0. Sometimes there's certain like letters it doesn't want to write, and zeros are one of them. That's just great because it's a math class, but zeros are kind of important. So we're going to round whole numbers, and again, something that you're probably okay at, but it's so important, like in life. I mean, just understanding like there's times when we need to round to a certain digit that's most important. Like we're just talking about some sort of big number in quantity that we need to order. Maybe rounding is just a better way to think about it. So we're going to find the place that we need to round to. So we have to figure out where that place is. So we're going to locate that place value. So in letter A down here, it says 6,472, round to the nearest hundred. So I have to locate that 100 place. So the 100 is the 400. We're going to look at the place to the right of that. So you're going to look at the number to the right of that. So you'll look at the number to the right. So we're looking at that 7. So what's the rule here, guys? You know it.
5 round up, 5 round.
Okay, so 5 and above, round up. 4 and below, we're going to round down. Five and above, we're going to round up. 4 and below, we're going to round down. But the number we're changing is that 4, or we're keeping it the same. So we're looking at that 4, and I'm going to say the 4 is going to round up because of that 7. So we're going to round that up, so the 4 is going to go up. So it's going to be 6,005, and then we just make the rest of them zeros. So this next one, we're going to round to the nearest 10,000. So the nearest 10,000. So we look at, this is 1,000, so 10,000, 100,000. We're doing 10,000, so that's this 4. And even though this number is super, super close, that 999 kind of throws you off. You're like, I see all those 9s, I should do something like rounding up. That 4 tells me I'm going to round down. So that means I'm just going to basically drop those other values off. So it's not like you go back to the 9 and round up the 4. You just go back 1 decimal place. So this would be 740,000. So there's going to be times that this one is probably a little bit more accurate than this one, but it kind of just depends on the situation. All right, we're going to do this front end rounding, and we'll take a little break here. And actually, before I taught this class, I think when Mr. Parker was teaching it last year, front end rounding, I guess this would be it, but I had never really heard of it before. But it kind of is like the most basic type of rounding. It's basically you look at the first number and round there. All of these, you just look at that first digit and then go behind it. So it doesn't, you don't have to be told round to the thousands place or 10,000s. It's just always that first digit, and then everything else should be zeros. So you only, you use the first digit to round. So if you guys want to take a minute, we're rounding using this first value here and changing the rest of the numbers. So if you guys can do that, I'll give you guys a little bit of time. You're just looking at that first digit, then you go to the digit to the right of it and tells you you should round up or down. And you should be on the next page if you haven't caught it, and then we turn pages. So if you're kind of stuck, I see some people going, some people waiting, that's fine. Either way. So we look at the 6. Look to the digit to the right, sorry. Grab my pen back in here again. Look at the digit to the right of that. The 4 tells me I'm going to round down. So that means all of those are just may come zeros. So I'm rounding down because of the 4. So this just becomes 6,000. So 4 and below, we round down. But then 5 and above, we're going to round up. So this 7, we look at the next digit, is 9, bless you. So that's telling us to round up. Now this one's kind of confusing because the 9 is going to become a 10. So what's that going to do? It's going to make it 800,000. So the 7 is going to become an 8. Going to go up another value there. It's kind of a strange that front end rounding looks a little bit weird. The 9, this one's even tougher. The 9 becomes a 10, so this is going to become, go from 98,000 to 100,000. So here the 7 became an 8. The 9 becomes a 10 because that digit right behind it was above a 5, so we round up in those cases. All right, questions there at all? All right, so we're going to take a little bit of a break from taking notes. So what I typically try to do is break up the notes into a couple parts, just so that I'm not talking the whole time, but also you guys aren't just sitting and getting the whole time. So we're going to take a little break. We can head outside today because it's nice out. We're going to do some just would you